right, everybody. My guest on the show today is Chris Gibson, skincare expert, health coach, author, and YouTuber. Chris and I were just catching up. We don't know each other, but we're about to get to know each other for a whole bunch of other people listening. And I was just telling Chris, I haven't had anybody on the show who specializes in skincare, and I like skincare. So I'm excited to learn from you today. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for
Yeah. How are things for you today?
Very good. Very good. It's Friday.
It is Friday. We are recording this on Friday, March 11th. This will be out in the next month. It's Friday. I don't know about you, but I'm working this weekend, unfortunately. A lot of work this weekend. How about you? Are you good?
Yeah, I am always, I film, videos come out Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday typically. So I film them on the day before or 2 days before, and then they're edited and they go out. So when a video goes out, obviously I'm there to respond to comments. And so the only day I really don't do anything with YouTube or I do it with the blog because the blog is 7 days a week, but it's usually Sunday is my Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day. There it is.
Sunday fun day.
Awesome.
That's my day. Yeah, that's my day. I just don't do that.
I'm excited you're on. Happy to get really excited for me and for everybody listening to get to know you live.
Sure.
So question number one for you, Chris. First question. What is something that you nerd out about?
Oh, wow. That's a lot of stuff.
I'll bet. Me too.
Travel, which I know everybody's probably on the same page with that with the last 2 years being the way they are. But I love preparing to travel.
Preparing to travel.
So that, I like the whole process of figuring out what I'm going to take. I'm just real weird.
Oh my God.
Am I going to take film equipment? Am I going to film on this trip? Or are we just going to, is it leisure? What is it? And then the other thing is new stuff. Like here where I live is a very vibrant place. Lots of places to eat and lots of growth. So a lot of people don't like that. People that have been in a town or a city for a long time, like St. Petersburg, they don't want much change, which is weird because I'm older and I like change. It's usually the opposite for people. And so I think all the new buildings going up and all the new stuff and the new technology, same thing in skincare. I love all the same thing, the new technology, the light therapy devices and stuff that people are using at home. I have a whole table full of that stuff that I'm testing out. So that's pretty much what I nerd out.
Oh my gosh, Chris, I have to ask you about
that's a lot,
preparing
though, right?
to travel thing. No, I've done 100 and some episodes. I can assure you I've had a lot of answers but the nerdy is the cool. Like that's the thing as you get older, you realize like that's the thing that makes you unique. I have to ask you, I love traveling. I despise getting ready to travel. Like I'm like the person who's like, wait, I'm going on a 2-day trip. I should probably pack 8 pairs of pants and 16 shirts because I might need them. Since I've got you here as a captive with me, I need to understand how I can possibly make this better because I hate preparing to travel.
Okay, I'll tell you the truth is when my book went crazy 15 years ago and I had to do a lot of travel for television. You didn't do Zoom interviews for TV like you can now.
Sure. I don't think Zoom existed then 15 years ago.
Yeah, it didn't. And so I was traveling 4 out of 7 days of the week at least. And in the beginning, I had that same feeling. But then I went on one trip. This is when it changed. I went on one trip and I forgot my pants. So it's funny you bring up pants.
Wait, you forgot all pants?
All the pants.
You had no pants?
No pants to wear on television. No pants other than the jeans that I had on that smelled like the airplane.
Amazing.
So, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So I called down the front desk and I said, are there any, I have to be on television at 8 in the morning. Is there any place that's open that early? And so they found a department store that opened early for me. It was in Morgantown, West Virginia. I can tell you exactly where it was. And they went and opened that store early for me so I could buy pants.
Wow.
And after that, I'm like, you know what? If I forget something, I can buy it. I'm not going to stress out like that ever again. I don't stress out now. I have friends who travel with me and flights get canceled and the airlines don't always do what they're supposed to. Sometimes they shut the gate door 5 minutes early and won't admit to, there's all sorts of stuff you encounter. Yeah. And I'm always the cool headed one. I'm just like, oh, well, we'll just get another plane or, whatever. So I made a conscious decision not to let that, because you carry that stuff into your trip.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. So I like I like the idea of what am I going to take? And I also kind of am humored by the fact that none of my plans are going to go the way I think. I will take many things I don't even wear. Yeah. I'll get someplace the weather's different than it was supposed to be. It's like, so I make it part of it's for like a game. And the other thing back then when I was traveling, I had to carry the stuff that I brought on television to demonstrate all this skin care stuff with me. And it had to be a certain weight, 50 pounds. They're going to charge you, make you take something out of it. This is closer to the 9/11 days where they were really strict. Yeah. So I was fighting with a United Airline employee. I'm like, look, I've taken this luggage across the country, 13 different cities. It's the same stuff. In fact, it's less because I've used some of the stuff in there in the demonstration. So there's less. No way it could be over 50 pounds. And so I picked the bag off that weight machine and put it on the one next to it. And it was 42 pounds, 42.8. And she just looked at me like, really? I was like, your weights are off.
I've seen this.
I said, so y'all been charging all these people. Y'all been charging all these people money for overweight bags. And that
oh my gosh,
is off. Well, they were not happy with me. I thought I'll never see that. I turned around after they tagged it. And I told the people, I said, I'll never see that bag again. They all howled. I said, I'll never see that bag again. I've pissed them off.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I know the game you're running.
Yeah. So, I think when you have been through the process of having to be places and have things with you, it's like walking with weights. I don't have to do that anymore. So now travel is like walking without weights. It's not a big deal.
Great.
I just don't get freaked out anymore.
Yeah. You've taken your practice swings with a donut on your bat, and now you're like, oh cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. That's awesome, Chris. Next question for you, and you've already answered this once, so I'm going to take what you just gave us off the table, because I know for a fact that this is something that people will identify with. What's something that is inside of your comfort zone that's outside of somebody else's? And I would assert being ease and travel is definitely something that a lot of people are not comfortable with.
That will hint at the other one is that I love to do stuff alone. I almost said the other one.
Yeah.
I love to go places. I like to go with friends, but I also like to go on my own. I've done that since I was a young guy. When I lived in Dallas, I would go camping. This is before cell phones. Drove my parents nuts. I would take 2 weeks off from work and just go to the desert, go to New Mexico, go to Colorado camping.
By yourself. Yeah.
Alone. And I can remember having to make trips down the mountainside to call my parents and let them know I was all right every couple of days from a payphone. Because, again, no cell phones in the 80s. So I think because I'm a very outgoing person, and I've seen this in relationships, and I've had a few, we've all had a few, we've always had that really clingy person that tried to punish us by saying, fine, I'm not leaving the room.
Yep.
Fine, stay in the room. And then they come out and I've got half the bar singing and we're doing stuff and I'm just having a ball and I've made 15 new friends. It's just me. And I that really is out of a lot of people's comfort zone.
Totally.
Even now that I have friends around me in their 50s, they're like, I can't believe you still do that. You just go out and just whatever. I'm like, yeah, I meet all kinds of cool people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
I never get it. Knock on wood. I never get into trouble. I kind of have a good sense for that, but I've done that in Europe. When I traveled to Europe, I would get in a cab and just go to some part of the city that I really wanted to get to know and do the markets and do the pubs and meet all the people. And I have friends everywhere.
Oh, I'll bet you do.
I've met famous people that way. It's the oddest thing ever. So
famous people like to do that too, though, because
they do, and you run into them, and they're like, a couple of them tell me who they were. I kind of knew. They were famous Ireland folk. We'll just leave it at that, and because I don't name drop, but you know, we're good friends now, and they were in pub in a hotel that I was staying in, and I went down. I was bored, and I didn't feel like going out that late and catching on. I went down and we had some beer, and I'm like, I know who this is. I know this person.
Yeah, I've had that experience too.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah. You remind me of a story I saw about Mick Jagger a few months ago. The Stones are touring in the US, right? I don't know if they've come to Florida, but Mick Jagger was in Charlotte, and he took a selfie of himself at this like little podunk dive bar having a beer, and around him were like a bunch of people who had Stone shirts on who had went to the concert, and nobody noticed him, and he looked so happy. He's just like hanging out. Like, wait, that's Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
But he like just didn't. I'm sure it's delightful as a celebrity to be like, I just want to have a beer because I'm a human being too, and like talk to some person.
Here in Florida, you never know who you can run into. We just had Neil Patrick Harris was here staying out on the beach, and I didn't see him, but that friends that are out. He went to he's doing a regular thing, the restaurant, the whole thing, and he's all these pictures up on his Instagram of people. He goes, I really like St. Petersburg. This is really nice,
Yeah.
So, if you're not out and about, that doesn't happen. So I like to be out and about. I cannot stand to be, doing YouTube because my studio is in the house. And before, in my previous lives, before this, I was in charge of hundreds of people. Mm-hmm. So in my corporate life, way back when I was in my 20s. And so I have to get out of the house. I don't know how people do that. I don't watch television. I hope that wasn't one of your questions.
It is not.
As far away from the news as I can.
Yeah.
It finds you anyway. I just don't watch. It's a very specialized thing. I don't watch TV. Yeah. So, I have to get out of the house. I think people are cool. You learn so much, and your perspective is so much wider because it's easy to have a very narrow perspective of the world and people in it when you don't ever leave and all you ever do is watch the news.
Yeah.
That's a completely different world that's painted than really exists.
Yeah, so, Chris, I'm gonna say this right now. We're getting to know each other. I feel like you're one of those people. I'm a total extrovert, so I like being around a lot of people.
Yeah. And
I also don't mind doing things by myself, but I feel like if you and I ran into each other somewhere, we'd probably be drinking till like 4 a.m. and having like a fun conversation. That's how I roll too.
Some of that for me would be like lager.
I would tell you that it would be for me.
Yeah, I'm 58 years old. I don't down them like I used to when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But a cocktail and conversation and dinner out. I love going to new places here. When my channel hit 100,000 subscribers, we went to a very small place. They treated me like royalty, which wasn't necessary, but they really made a big fuss. And I met a lot of cool people there. Yeah. So, it's all good. It's just my personality. I've always been like that. So.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you got to lean into your personality and what you like doing, right? So reverse of that question. What's something that's outside of your comfort zone that is inside of somebody else's?
Let me think a minute. It's not too much I won't do. I'm sure there's something. Let me think. That's a harder question. It's a hard one. That's a comfort zone for other people. Oh, I know. I hate to camp. Today. I talked about camping I don't like to go to like campgrounds. That's a thing, like RVing.
Yeah, sure.
I don't like that.
You don't like it? It's uncomfortable for you?
No, I don't like it. I don't like it.
We'll leave it at that.
It's not the people or anything. It's not like that. It's just the whole. It doesn't feel 100% like camping because you have you have a place. And mostly what happens, at least around the ones that I've been to, the few times that I've gone, is there's a lot of campfire and drinking and that sort of thing and card playing games. And that's just not me.
Yeah.
It's just not me. I'm bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a lot of people, including some of my friends, that try to drag me out to these campgrounds. And I'm like, no. Nope. I got things to do this weekend. I want to sit in air conditioning. So plus it's Florida, and Florida campgrounds are hot and steamy and full of mosquitoes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I hope I'm not offending anybody if that's your thing. Absolutely. Those guys love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I had a boss back when I lived in Pennsylvania. They're campgrounds are different there. They're like neighborhoods. I'll go visit in the summer.
Oh yeah.
And so, that was okay. But even back then I was like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
We've been around the place in the golf cart once, but they absolutely love that. That's their thing. They spend, that's their hobby. That's their hobby.
Yeah.
So I'm not dissing at all. Cause I have a lot of hobbies like flying on airplanes. I wish I could do it more, but people were like, you're nuts. So, fair is fair, right?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. All right. So I know you speak, you get in front of stages, you do a lot of speaking and stuff. I've looked at your bio. So if I give you 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, you get to deliver whatever message you want to all of us here, US, global, whatever it might be, what would you speak on? And then at the end of your speech, what would you want us to do with the information?
What would I speak on? These days, I would speak on the fact of doing your research. Now, that comes from a lot of skincare. I talk a lot about that on the channel. Read your labels, know what's in stuff. Look up studies. Don't buy what they're telling you on TikTok or even on YouTube necessarily. I would talk about the potential negative risks when you don't do that, because I've seen that in the medical community when people didn't ask enough questions. I talk about my mom and let that happen to her. I talk about that when people make decisions on groups of people, and that's any. It could be politics, it could be your neighborhood, it could be anything. Without really understanding, because that comes from being out and about in things. But I really think people don't take enough time to really look at the facts of something. They really base too much of how they feel about things on somebody else's opinion or tilted views. Sensationalized views, clickbaity news, clickbaity ads. Just, that
everywhere.
I fight that in skincare all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
They push the industry, pushes the envelope on what you can expect from a product. And I'm like, no, it doesn't do that. And so yeah. And I would tell you to take that information and use it. Start looking at things. Because it's sort of like the person who doesn't check the balance in their checkbook. And they don't know where they are. And then suddenly all these issues crop up because they weren't watching. I had a boss way back. For some reason, my bosses are coming up in this today that told me you get what you inspect, not what you expect.
Yeah, totally.
And I think we see a lot of that in the world today.
Oh, yeah.
People are shocked. And I'm like, why would you be shocked? Oh, you didn't. You thought that was, okay.
Here's the 84 clues that the result you got is going to be exactly what was expected. Well, or not.
I'm really surprised by anything. That doesn't make me smarter, but I will tell you that I am more disciplined and more investigative than the average person.
Yeah, I bet. So the call to action that I hear there is do your research before forming it. Don't. The other thing I'd say don't be, I don't know why I'm using this word, bamboozled by marketing. Do your research, figure it out.
Don't make a bunch of decisions based on information you haven't checked out. That never ends well.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because isn't that actually, that's marketing 101. The whole point is to get people to buy products without
digging.
Yeah. That's what marketing's for, right? Yeah. Super interesting, Chris. So we're going to take a brief commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
The Talking to Cool People podcast is brought to you by Jason Frizzell Coaching. Jason works with amazing people who are looking to find and develop their passion and purpose and create their journey to wherever it is they want to go. Check us out at jasonfrizzell.com, Facebook, or on Instagram. Jason loves hearing from anyone who thinks it would be cool to connect, to be coached, or to be a guest on our show. Email him at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com or DM him on Facebook and Instagram. And now, back to some more amazing conversation on Talking to Cool People.
All right, Chris. What else do you want us to know about you?
I want you to know about me.
Or what would you?
That implies there are things I don't want you to know about.
Yeah, or maybe Chris, maybe another way to phrase it would be, what are you willing to share with us today about you? I'll tell you what I'm curious about. I'm really interested in your background in skincare. I think that's a really interesting.
Well, it's the basis for it's the basis for where I got to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
You lay over, I do have a marketing background, and I do have a corporate background. And of course, at this stage of life, almost 60, I've owned businesses and sold, I've owned homes and sold homes. All that kind of stuff. So the skincare thing, though, has always been there because I had issues when I was really young.
Yeah.
And none of the things that we tried or the dermatologist tried didn't work. So I hung on to the idea that, well, I'll outgrow it because that's what they told me. Yet I didn't check anything out back then. I just did what I was told and expected to get certain results, which I didn't. So when I was 20, I went to see a dermatologist, a really expensive one in Dallas where I was still living. And they, after all this stuff, taking Accutane, all these things that you hear about for this issue, they gave me a prescription for the same old thing, which I paid my $500, which is a lot of money in, 1986. And so I decided to dig around and try to figure it out. I did what I just told everybody you need to do. I started researching this issue, had to go to the library. There was no internet. And I had to go to health food stores, as they were called. And there was no GNC. There was no vitamin shop. There was none of that. That was very taboo, very voodoo, almost occult. They almost lumped all of the health, herbal stuff, all of that into the occult side of life.
Oh, interesting. So they've done a good job of remarketing all that.
Oh, yeah. Now it's like all about something. Well, who it did that was weight. I don't want to get off track, but weight loss is what caused that.
Sure.
Whole thing, because it was the weight loss supplements that broke that barrier, that taboo barrier.
Yeah.
Stackers and Fin and all that stuff.
Oh, man.
Told you, I've been around. So anyway, so I did figure it out on my own. I figured it was diet. I figured out that there were things in products even labeled for acne issues that were a problem for skin, for my skin. It started with me, obviously. And then over the years, I would share that as people asked me what I did and the products that I used. And I did learn a ton from dermatologists. There's always a positive in that. I used to look at the dermatology part of it as a failure, but a lot of what I know from an esthetician standpoint and then applying the holistic approach to it comes from what I learned from my dermatologist. So I'm able to help people, non-medical things. I'm not prescribing medicine, obviously, but there are techniques and things you can do that are not prescription that a dermatologist would share with you to do, or a good one. They don't have anything to do with products. So, when I formulated 2 skincare lines later on, one for acne and one for later for anti-aging. So I really know a lot about ingredients. So there's positives in all of that stuff that happened. But I mean, that's really how I got into where I'm at. And then I wrote a book on it in 2004, a little booklet. There's no Amazon yet. Well, they were there, but they weren't selling ebooks. And that's why I never thought, don't buy stock in Amazon. That's what it was.
It's good advice. Good advice.
Right after the dot-com burst, people didn't want to have anything to do with an internet-driven company, and that guy was really smart to do that. So anyway, I wrote a little ebook. It did very, very well because there were a lot of people that had the same issues that I had. We put it on something called ClickBank. They're still around. That's how you bought ebooks back in the day before Amazon. And I blew them out of the water. That was like their number one affiliate person on there. There were affiliate sales back then. Yeah. Before that all got. So a lot of my life, for some odd reason, I guess, maybe it's because I am always out there doing something. I've always been at the right place at the right time with stuff.
Yeah.
Really, I started my YouTube channel. I started it in 10, but did nothing with it. I just put TV clips on it from me on television shows. And then in 2018, I decided, I need to do this YouTube thing and see if it really is. I don't really want to go back on the road doing television, talking about skincare. I've done that. I want to be able to talk real with people. I don't want to have to watch what I say and try to truncate it all into 3 minutes, because that's what you got to do on TV.
Yeah.
And I love television. Don't get me wrong, that media has been very good to me. That's life-changing when you get on TV. But the pandemic happened. So guess what? There's a bunch of people sitting at home looking for things to do and watch. And so I look for a very short moment in time, for about 6 months, my channel grew on that wave.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's grown because of my credibility and, on some other things that have happened since, but I got that break.
Yeah.
And, I was like, what made me decide to do that in 18? And then in the 19, people start getting sick. And then 2020, everybody's stuck at home and YouTube just blows the hell up.
Yeah.
And here I am in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
So, when my book came out, I was talking about antibiotics. The medical establishment was like, you really can't say that. The antibiotics, I was talking about the overuse of them that I had experienced. It was always about my personal experience, not about what someone should do.
Yeah.
And then MRSA happened.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it was, oh my God, we're overusing antibiotics. And I'm like, you just told me last year on television that I was wrong about that. So anyway, again, right. So then it was conversations about antibiotics. I kept me on television. And when that started to play out, there was the whole thing about obesity in children in 2006, 7, and 8. That was a big focus.
Yep.
Well, guess what? I got to talk about that too, because diet is very much involved in your skin's health. So it just kept going. It's like one thing would come and I would get all this exposure. Then another thing would come and I would get all this exposure. And then another thing would come and I would get all this. So I got to talk about skincare. I got to talk about lifestyle. I got to talk about weight loss and holistic approaches to health, the life health coach type thing.
Yeah.
Right place at the right time. Now, then of course 2008 and 9 rolled in back then with the recession and everything went to heck in a handbasket for everybody. And at that point I was tired. My mom passed away and I said, I'm taking a break. And I got rid of the big house and all that stuff. I had 40 acres in Pennsylvania and I didn't want to deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a break. I had been going for almost 8 years solid. Moved to a little bungalow on the beach, and I do mean small, 600 square foot apartment.
Yeah.
And just kind of chilled out for a while till I figured out what I wanted to do. And now I'm back on YouTube and we're talking about anti-aging. So here I am again in the middle of it. And I'm like the only guy in that space. I'm the only over 50 person on YouTube that talks skincare reviews and that kind of stuff. There are tons of people who talk skincare on YouTube. There's dermatologists, I love a lot of those guys. But in that space, it's women.
Yeah.
And, all of them. I can't even think of their names, so many of them. But they're all great. But they do fashion and makeup. I don't do that stuff.
Sure.
They talk about all those aspects of being a woman 50 and up. And it's awesome. And they talk about skincare. So here I am, this guy who I don't think I look 58. And I'm talking about skincare, walking the talk. And so it's gotten a lot of attention, especially when people found out how old I was.
Yeah.
That was really very controversial for a while because people didn't believe me.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing all of that. One of the things that that hit me as you were talking was the right place at the right time, but you also were very clear with us that you also put yourself out there.
I do.
You're adventurous. You're talking to people. I would say that it's not just the right place, the right time. I would say, like, you don't actually know. I think this is the lesson one of the lessons there that I believe in too. I think we're pretty similar on this is you don't know how it's going to go, but you were damn ready when it happened.
Yep.
You'd already set the stage there, which I think there's such a lesson there. And if we had Jeff Bezos, I'm just using Jeff because, we're talking about Amazon, he'd probably say the same thing, right? Like, hey, I was sitting in this office and somebody told me they had this thing, and like I wasn't sure how this is going to go, and richest man in the world. So awesome. I'm sure I know you've heard this a million times. I am shocked you're 58.
Yeah. And it's, 58, I try to tell people the biggest shocking thing when you get over 50 was if you've taken care of yourself, you don't feel any different than you did at 30. You just don't.
Yeah.
Is that how fast time goes?
Yeah.
Like, it's like your brain takes, like when you're a kid, it's like, oh my God, when is Christmas? When is Easter? When is summer vacation? When the hell did I get out of high school? When does this all end? You want to finish. And then at somewhere between 35 and really 50, and it's different for different people.
Yeah.
Your brain takes all of that slow plotting period and squunches it up to a thumbnail. So when you look back, it's like this. Things seem like this. So time goes very fast for me. Living in Florida doesn't help because we don't have real seasons.
Yeah.
So, when people ask me something, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know when that happened. But the biggest thing is that I wouldn't call it reaping the results, but I am seeing the tangible results of taking care of yourself personally, and I'm not afraid to put myself out there and talk about that.
Yeah.
Because anything can happen to anybody at any time. Any cancer, anything can happen. So it's not like I'm bragging around going, "Ooh, I'm better than everybody else." But I haven't had work done. I haven't had facelift. I don't use fillers. I don't use Botox. I'm not on hormone replacement therapy. I don't take testosterone. I don't do any of those things. And science is catching up with what someone who lives a lifestyle like mine, what it can do for you for the rest of your life, but how it gets you where you are. Because I've watched people in my family get sick and die.
Yeah.
I've watched friends get sick and die. Because when you get to be my age, a lot of people die. Believe it or not, not everybody makes it to the finish line that everybody thinks we have to make it to, which there isn't one, by the way. But so I made jokes in my 40s. It's going to get really weird if I don't look a lot older when I am 50, because in my 20s, I wanted to be on television as a broadcaster. Again, one of those things, I took broadcasting classes. Who knew I was going to be on television for the book 20 years after that? So you tell me. Weird, right? So I'm like, it's going to get weird. It was weird then. I wanted to be in broadcasting. They told me I looked too young. I went on the television shows in my 40s, early 40s, 41 until I was 47. And I would be in the room when they come to get you to put you on the television set with people on set. And they would go, we're ready for Chris Gibson. And I go like this. And almost always they go, oh, we expected someone older, like in their 40s. I'm like, I am. How old do I have to look to do this? And so a lot of those interviews, if you go back and watch them, that comes up in the interview. Well, you certainly don't look.
Sure.
So now I am about to be 60, and I'm not saying you should never do Botox or a lift or whatever. If you feel bad about yourself, you should do what you have to do to feel better.
Yeah.
Please don't go do what we see people do in celebrity.
Oh, dear God.
Stretched out and don't
people look like
themselves
ghouls. Yeah.
But a little lift here, a little filler of hyaluronic acid, which is not invasive. It's not we make that in our skin anyway. So those augmentations that make you feel better about yourself or keep you looking fresh. I like the word fresh rather than younger.
Yeah.
Because I'm not on my channel trying to make 50, 60, 70-year-olds look 20. That's ridiculous.
They just look silly.
But I do want people to feel good about themselves and feel good, have lots of energy, because that translates to your skin and how people perceive you. There's the person we see, then the people that see us. And I can tell you part of the magic of what I look like is really my energy level, I think.
Yep.
I have a lot of energy, and someone even wrote on the channel, "You don't sound old." I'm like, what does old sound like?
Yeah. What a context, right?
So I get the comments, and of course, there's people that don't believe me at all, and which is funny. But I have always done things to stay healthy because I felt better.
Mm-hmm.
I did skincare because I looked better. Because I looked better, I felt better. And when I made the connection between food and skin, and I followed that very disciplined scenario through most of my life, the dividend was for the skin, but also for my health. Like I don't have high blood pressure. Everybody goes, it's got to be genetic. Well, yes, genes do play a role, but both my birth, I'm adopted, by the way. That's something we well know. Most people. My birth parents, one died at 75 and the other died at 54 of lung cancer. So my genes are not screaming genes, And I think it's funny when people try to use that. When people try to say it's someone's genes, it's usually an excuse for not getting your butt off the couch. My genes, I can't do that. It wouldn't make any difference. It makes all the difference. The studies come out all the time. We just had one in October. Called a Health God study that proved that biological aging can be reversed in people who increase activity in their lifestyle and improve their diets and their mental. They take some mindfulness, do some meditation, stay active. 3 years and 8 weeks. You can reverse your biological aging. And there's so I don't confuse people. There's your chronological age and your biological age.
Sure.
Two very different numbers for everybody. So it's how old you are in time and then how old your telomeres are making your body, which are the parts of your DNA that decide how long your cells live. So the shorter your telomeres become over time, the quicker cells die, the quicker you die. Because you're basically a photocopy of a photocopy. I always tell everybody, what you're looking at in the mirror is old news.
Right.
What you see is old news. You make changes, you will see the new news later on as it begins to appear. So now we're getting to the holistic philosophies that has guided me. So I always think life's like a ping pong ball, shot into life, and I banged around some of these walls, but the basic walls that got set up for me in my teens and 20s were this holistic approach. Food definitely impacts your diet and how you feel. Skincare products and what you do impact how your skin behaves. How much, more than 15 minutes of sunshine is going to damage your skin. My dermatologist told me that. You can spend 15 minutes out in the sun and you can do that. I get that question all the time. You can get some vitamin D. It takes your skin like 10 minutes at the most to convert that into all the vitamin D you need for a week. So you're not vitamin D deficient from wearing sunscreen, but you are risking DNA damage to your cells when you don't wear sunscreen. So and it's the DNA and the telomeres that do everything. So we want the photocopy to be as nice and crisp as the one before it as we can get it, because you look at Betty White. She had vodkas, martinis, all the way up till the end, and she lived a really good, healthy life. She was able to still get up and around, and that's what you want. If you're going to live to be older, you want to be able to move around and enjoy your life. Nobody wants to be stuck somewhere for 10 years on a machine. So I really try to help people with that, and a lot of that's not a very popular thing to talk about with people, but I insert a lot of that stuff in my videos, and the one that just came out, I almost cut it out of what I said because sometimes something takes over. And I was like, this drinking tea with antioxidants in it have been shown to help preserve your cognitive ability. It retards cognitive decline, and nobody wants to do all this work on looking good and then look in the mirror and not recognize who you are.
Exactly.
Now, a lot of people, I thought, that's going to hit some people really wrong if they're dealing with, because I've had Alzheimer's in my family. And it's a very painful condition.
We're talking about normal cognitive decline.
It needs to be said to the people who have a potential to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we quit talking about it or don't talk about it, then people don't know that they can make changes. And I can tell you, if you have someone in your family that suffered with some sort of disease, it should encourage you to look at what can I do a little bit different to help maybe keep that from happening to me, or at least put me in a position to fight whatever it is better. Because, the stuff is there. Technology is super amazing. The stuff that's happening with home remedy, I'll call them remedies, therapies. Remedies, because I'm old school. Home therapies, where I think you're going to see skincare become more about the devices in the home that used to be in the esthetician's office that you can use, red light therapy, radio frequency therapy, all of these things you can do, electric stimulation of your muscles to improve your life, improve your skin, improve your health. And then the topicals are going to be the secondary piece where it's flipped to right now. Everybody's trying to slather on some sort of cream. It's like Death Becomes Her, the movie. Everybody wants that little tonic that they took that made them suddenly younger. It doesn't work that way. So
nice, Chris. All right. I learned, so glad I asked you. I learned a lot. And so I want to give you the opportunity to learn something from me or about me, since we know a lot about you.
Okay.
What question do you have for me as somebody that you met 46 minutes ago that I can answer for you and for the audience?
Oh, that's a good question. I always think when I'm a guest on these, I always wonder. Well, I have two questions, but you can pick which one you want to answer. Okay. You don't have to give a name.
Sure.
What is the most? Because I had a radio show and a podcast at one time.
Yep.
So, what is the most aggravating thing that a guest has ever done? I can tell you what mine is.
I'd love to hear yours too.
And then what's in it for you? What do you get out of being the voice that brings people to people? What do you get out? What do you get out of being the messenger? That's always curious because that comes from having done what you do. So
I'll answer the second question first because that's an easy one. I've told this story in the pod. So a lot of people ask me, because I ask this of all my guests. I've done 120 episodes. A lot of people ask me, why are you a podcaster? And I'll tell this in 30 seconds. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to be Johnny Carson and then Jay Leno and talk to fun people and have fun, interesting conversations. And now I get to do that. I'm not on TV. Maybe someday, I don't know. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But this is my little way of being able to easily do that. And so you and I would never have met otherwise, very likely.
True.
Met. So that kind of leads to the second part of it. What I get out of it. I genuinely love most people. Like, I love humanity. I'm really interested in people. So this is a really easy way to be like, hey, Chris sounds really interesting. You came to me through a third party. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to talk to Chris. It sounds interesting. And here we are having a conversation. That's all I care about. I know how many people listen to these episodes, and this is like a top 5% podcast, but I don't really care because I enjoy it. Like, the truth is I just love meeting people and talking to them. And there's no way that I'm going to find you on LinkedIn and be like, hey, you want to hop on and a call for an hour and just just talk?
Right.
You'd be like,
yeah, exactly.
You might actually, but you're probably going to be like, who is this dude? And what is he trying to sell me versus, hey, come on my show. So that's why I do it. And the output of that for me is when I hear my audience, they're like, oh my God, I got so much out of that. I have somebody in my family who's dealing with rosacea or something. And I heard Chris, I went to his YouTube channel. I saw that he had something around this and it made a difference for me. Like, that's the other thing too. And I know that happens without me actually knowing about a lot of it, but I do know about some of it because I do hear from some of my audience that, hey, the thing that this person said, or either you said or your guest said, it made a difference in my life. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, I get that too on the channel, which is always really, that's, I've said that to people. I can be having a crazy day. I don't have terrible days ever, but I have crazy ones. And I will see a comment like that and I'll go, oh, that's why I do this. That's why I do this.
Yeah.
Not that I need to be reminded when somebody says, I tried this, all this other stuff did not work. And I tried this and it worked. Thank you for sharing that. And, it worked. So it's, that's all the feedback I need.
Yeah.
I love answering the comments, and I have really great subscribers. I have some of the best subscribers there for the most part. I can always tell when someone leaves a comment, they're not a subscriber because they'll be caddies.
Of course,
they're trolls. They're trolls
always,
and all of that. And my videos are being shown. I just had one go over 1 million views a month ago. So I think the channel's at almost 10 million views.
Wow.
So when you've had 10 million eyeballs on your videos, because
there's going to be trolls.
Only counts the view once. That means 10 million. That's what that means. Not that somebody watched it over and over. 10 million. I'm like, that's insane. So I'm lucky. I know what other YouTubers go through. I'm not very controversial. My tone and attitude is not combative. I'm not one of these younger folks.
You're trying to educate.
Star where, I'm just trying to help you find a way. And the skincare conundrum is crazy. So I try to help that piece. And so I have really good subscribers and they help each other out. Sometimes when I haven't even gotten to the question. The same thing on my blog. They do, because I have a community blog. It's not really like a blog where you just read it's interactive. People are able to talk to each other and answer each other's questions. So that's a network. And, networks are powerful because I don't always know the answer. Or I can't get back to somebody as quickly as they may need. And those folks are on it. Also, I rarely have to point anything out to anybody that's crazy. Those comments come off there pretty quickly. I want a friendly atmosphere.
Totally.
I don't want to talk about politics or relationships or any of that stuff. This is skincare. This is solving questions that you have.
Unless people are commenting on how glorious or not glorious politicians' skincare is, then that might be an appropriate topic.
Yeah,
for
that one might slip through. But I don't really have to address that because I'm not. I love Dolly Parton's approach, though. The whole world. It's like you do your thing.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody else and you don't tell anybody else what to do, you're good. And so I've kind of tried to keep that the same because people can come up and say some really mean things when people try crazy stuff. And people are trying crazy stuff to clear up something or solve something with their skin because nothing else has worked. And I will not let people slam them for that.
Yeah.
Even if it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, why would you do that? But I get, my initial thing is, okay, well, I said that, but then I think I know why they did it because people can get really desperate when they're not well. And if conventional things are not working, they're going to reach outside of that. So, so I keep that really safe harbor for those questions. And I get asked some really interesting skincare questions.
Oh, I'll bet. I think this actually is a perfect segue as we start to wrap. I have a couple more questions for you, Chris. What is something that you're afraid might actually be true about you?
What is something that I'm afraid is actually be true about me? Those are always hard questions too.
This is my therapy question. We're going deep here.
I think one of the things that worries me because of my work over the years of being trying to be in alignment with who I am and not letting people knock me off that is a challenge for some people because they interpret that as that you don't care. So I think that part of that's I don't care in the way that people think that means. I don't care. Like if I have things to do and you're trying to manipulate me, I don't care. I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
And I've had to learn that. But being misinterpreted to the other kind of I don't care, like I don't care about you as a person, or if the situation was different, I could do something different here. Because when you get visible, man, everybody wants money. They think you're rich. There's all this crazy stuff. It's like, okay, you got to fix your life. So I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I care about you. So I think a lot of humans, Americans in particular, have a real hard time with that concept because we have a lot of, or at least my generation has a lot of guilt instilled training as you were growing up. Your parents manipulated you through guilt.
Yep.
If you really loved me.
That resonates.
If you really loved me. But, what happens is you get in your or for me, in my 30s, and my mom and I became much closer after we got out of that, where she couldn't push my buttons anymore.
Yep.
And, of course, some of my family, that's the most disrespectful thing ever. I'm like, what? Not to let your parent push your buttons when you're 35 years old? How is that disrespectful?
Yeah.
So we had a couple of years there where I pushed back. And so what happened was when my mom passed, and I can tell you this, I'll share this personally. Mm-hmm. My sister was there. She did not do that. That doesn't make her nobody's a bad person here. It's just a choice.
Yeah.
when we went to the funeral, everybody was just devastated, and I wasn't. And people thought I would be the one, having taken care of her at the end and she lived with me for a number of years. I would be the one falling apart, and I was the one holding everybody together.
Yeah.
So I never really I didn't fall apart because our relationship had evolved. I was sad, of course.
Yeah.
That's a life-changing thing. Your life is completely different. It played into my decision to get rid of all that stuff up there and come down here and chill out for a while. But it didn't alter my life the way it alters a lot of people. So again, people can interpret that. He just doesn't care. He's just one of those cold people who doesn't care, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
So that would be the answer. The long answer to that question.
That's good, Chris. That's good. All right. So we are going to put your YouTube channel, your website, all the stuff, the ways people can connect with you, learn more about you, work with you if that's how they see fit. We'll put that all in the show notes. Is there anything, if people were going to pick one thing you wanted them to do, how would you most want people to connect with you?
YouTube is really usually the best way because you get my personality.
Yeah.
You meet me that way because I'm on film and
you can see that Chris actually does not look 58.
Yeah. and then of course I'm on Instagram. I'm on all of that stuff, and all of that. YouTube sort of becomes a hub. Every video has all of my contact information. And then my channel, Chris Gibson Live, of course, is easy to find. But YouTube, because of the size of the channel now, you can just type in my name, and I'm the first one to come up. You can type in my name in an issue. Never thought I'd live to say this. You could type in Chris Gibson Acne, and a video will come up.
There it is.
So I have 500 videos. It's a lot.
That's a lot of videos to put together. Yeah.
A lot of content.
Chris. Yes. Yeah. Well, congratulations on everything. I am so glad you were able to come on today. It's so nice to meet you. Tradition on the show. Last thing. Leave us with some words to wisdom, and they should be short and sweet. What do you got for us?
It's time to take an audit of your life.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
What that mean by that? Audit of your life. Look at everything and make sure you're satisfied.
I love that. And I'm just going to say, be very clear, Chris, to everybody listening, audit of your life. We are getting near tax season or tax deadline. We're not talking about that. Also, perhaps on your finances. You're like, people are listening. They're like, yeah, that's great. And they're like, oh, that's great, Chris.
Take a look at everything, your diet, your fitness, where you are, your job, everything, and make sure you're happy. And if you're not, that's what that means. Take an audit of your life. The last half of that's self-explanatory. If you're not, change it.
Yeah. Well, the thing I would add there, and that's beautiful. The thing I would add there too is there are tons of free resources, and there's also amazing professionals like you who will support people with whatever it is. So if they're like, for example, fitness, holistic fitness, for me, like I do some coaching work, like there's a million amazing people out there in the personal development space and the health space that can help you. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can pay somebody to do it. Or most people that I know, and I know you, like your YouTube channel is a perfect example, that's free.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of information for free.
Even my books on my website are free.
So that's my soapbox. There's really no reason not to if you have the motivation. So again, Chris, thank you so much for being on. It was a real pleasure to get to know you. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. And I would love to run into you sometime at one of those pubs or bars. And I'm sure we'd have a great conversation.
We would.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with Jason Frizzell. If you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and give us a shout out, or take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. If something from today's episode piqued your interest and you'd like to connect, email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners because you're cool people too.